Hey guys, Jonathan here, and I've got the new $300 LEGO Arkham Asylum built and ready to review, which LEGO sent me early to review, but of course all thoughts are my own. Now this set comes out September 9th, it's $300 with almost 3,000 pieces in 16 minifigs. So without further ado, let's get right into taking a closer look at this epic new DC Modular. And here it is, Arkham Asylum, one of the coolest LEGO DC sets we've ever gotten. I just have to tell you right off the bat, that's how I feel. It's our first ever DC Modular, which is awesome. And again, $300 price tag with 16 minifigs, almost all of which are brand new, and 2,953 pieces. It's a phenomenal build experience, and there are so many references, Easter eggs, and even a little story built into the set that you discover as you continue to build, or you'll discover as you get through this review. Now, there are some things about it that are not my favorite and some things I really wish were different, but we'll address each of those as we get there. I think the best place to start, of course, are the minifigs, so let's jump right in with those.
Now, it's no secret that we have not gotten a lot of DC minifigures over the last several years, and when we have gotten them, they've been from Batman, and when we've gotten those, it's usually the Joker, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman, and Batman himself. So this is the first time we've gotten Robin in basically 5 years. It's the first time we've seen Poison Ivy in years. So there's a lot of really cool new stuff here. And while a lot of minifigures are in their jumpsuits, it kind of makes sense narratively. Hopefully this opens the door and the set sells well enough that we show LEGO that we want more from DC than just what's here. You know, let's get all these characters in their main outfits. Let's get some Superman characters. This set selling well will tell LEGO everything they need to know about the demand for DC, and I hope that the way I feel about more DC sets is the way that you feel, and hopefully that means we get more and not just Batman. But let's start breaking down all of these minifigs.
With so many minifigs to get through, we'll start with the least exciting ones, and these are the Arkham Asylum guards. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that they're included here so that we have somebody to defend the asylum, but at the same time, they use pretty much all common parts and or parts that have been in many other sets, so they bring the least amount of newness to the table, which is why they've got to be ranked last here. Of course, those torsos are great with their walkies and equipment, and I do love the blue hats. It is a great representation all around, but they don't even say Arkham. They're just kind of generic, so they've got to come at the bottom of the ranking. In 14th place, we've got Batman himself, and I know that might sound crazy to you because it is a great minifig, right, with that new cowl and the 2025 debut torso, but considering we just found out about the Batman video game coming out next year, I think it stands to reason that this minifig is about to become as common as the previous black and yellow Batman, so for that reason, other than bringing back the cape, which we haven't seen since 2020, there's not a lot of excitement here. It uses the same head we've been getting on Batman for years, the Shang-Chi style head. Of course, it does look great with that mask with the white eyes, and we can flip the unique cape up to see a little bit more printing on the back that looks great. And like I said, we haven't seen this cape in many years, and unfortunately, it doesn't come with like an alternate cape for him, just like a regular cape, so he's always got to have this flowing cape. It doesn't super bother me, especially if you're just going to like display this, but I feel like it wouldn't have been a huge deal breaker to LEGO to include a regular version too. But that being said, you also probably already have it, so yeah, it is what it is. At lucky number 13, we have Mr. Freeze, which might come as a surprise to you, considering he's one of the few Arkham inmates to not actually be in his inmate outfit, but it's for a good reason. Just like Batman before, this figure came out in a 4+ set earlier this year. Now, that set was very overpriced, but technically, the only new thing this brings to the table is the very cool ice pack on his back. Very cool. I didn't even mean that one. But anyways, it's a great figure. It's just something that we've already gotten. Granted, I think it's a better value to get him in this set, but since we're ranking these based on newness and what they bring to the table, technically we've had most of the year to get this already, so yeah, it's got to rank kind of low for that reason. At number 12, we have the Joker. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great figure, and I love the green hairpiece that comes on him here, but aside from the Arkham inmate suit, which comes on almost every villain in this set, the only new thing here is that green hairpiece, which does look pretty amazing, but yeah, beyond that, that's the only new thing here. No printing on the reverse of the head, just printing on the front. And of course, he has this nice little build-out gun with the bang on it, which looks really good. And I think it's a good time to take a look at the Arkham suits, because all of the figures in this set that have an Arkham jumpsuit have the exact same legs and torso. And you'll notice they all have gray gloves on. I think the reason they did that is so that each character could use the same torso. Like, for example, they wouldn't have to change flesh tones or gloves between characters. I do think it's a little bit jarring, and it's something that I personally would probably swap out to upgrade, but I do get from a production standpoint why LEGO had to do it, and honestly, now that I see it in person, it really doesn't bother me that much, but it is worth pointing out for consistency's sake. At number 11, we have Harley Quinn. Now, the hair actually comes from the most recent version of Harley prior to this set, which was several years ago. The mold is the same as the LEGO Batman movie version, but the colors are reversed. So, obviously, on this version, the red is on our right side and the black is on our left side here, but the mold is the same as the LEGO movie, it's just the colors were reversed. Kind of interesting. The head, as you can see, she's winking on one side, and on the other side, she's blowing a bubble, and you can actually see she's got a little bit of colorful eyeshadow around her eyes if you really zoom in there. And she has roller skates on and a brick-built giant hammer, which does look really good with stickers on both sides. That is awesome. But, you know, we've gotten so many Jokers and so many Harleys over the years. That's why these are ranked a little bit lower of all the inmate minifigs, but it's still an awesome representation and a great inclusion nonetheless. Bringing us into the top 10 is the Penguin. Now, he's not based off of any specific iteration, and in fact, he uses the same torso as all the others, but this time around, he has a brand new head as well as a white collar piece, which is pretty uncommon with that fur collar. He also has his iconic umbrella, as well as two Penguin minions, one with a stick of dynamite, and the other with a revolver. This is a great minifig, and we haven't gotten a Penguin minifig since 2021, so it's really great to have him back again, even if he is in his Arkham jumpsuit. At number 9, we have the Scarecrow. Now, we've not gotten a Scarecrow minifig since the Dark Knight version in 2021, or since 2017 for the LEGO Batman movie version, if you prefer that. Regardless, it's a great minifig. I love his sunken-in green eyes and his very scary smile. I just really wish they'd given him his hat. I mean, for a $300 set with 2,953 pieces, would it have really been that much of a stretch to throw in one more piece for his hat? I honestly don't think so, and that would have absolutely made the figure for me. But, of course, that means I'll get to upgrade the minifig here soon, so stay tuned for that as we continue our Arkham coverage, including the next minifigure in this review. At number 7, we have Killer Croc. Now, this figure is a little bit disappointing in the sense that I really wish it was like a big fig, but still, at minifig scale, it's really, really awesome. It's just hard for me to believe that Killer Croc is the exact same height as the Joker, and Bane, who we'll look at before too long, is the same size as Killer Croc and Harley Quinn. Yeah, right. But still, it's a great minifig nonetheless. It does use the same torso and legs as we've been talking about. He does have a piece of chicken here, which is actually referenced in the set, so keep an eye out for that as we get into the build itself. And, of course, you know, the big talking point is the fact that it's only his head that's new here, but thankfully, the lizard from Spider-Man No Way Home offers the perfect body to go ahead and upgrade this, so stay tuned for that in a future video, but for now, let's keep rolling on. Yes, at number 7, we have the formidable Bane minifigure. I love this minifig, guys. I will say, you know, a big problem is there's no way Bane should be the same size as the Joker, but I get why they had to do it. But on another hand, I would have almost rather not had Bane and Killer Croc in this set and gotten somebody like Mad Hatter, Two-Face, characters we've not gotten in equally long time in a lot of cases, or in Mad Hatter's case, ever. But, you know, it is a great minifig nonetheless. Now, of course, the only things new here are the mask, which does look really, really good. And, of course, we have a nice little brick-built toxin backpack for him, as well as a dumbbell like we were talking about. And we haven't had a Bane minifig at this scale since 2016. And then, of course, we got that big fig Bane in 2017 from the LEGO Batman movie. So it is really, really nice to get Bane here, again, after after all this time. I just really wish it was a bigger figure or a little bit more standout than yet another figure in their Arkham jumpsuit. But that being said, every figure from here on out is new to this set, so that's something to get excited about. At number 6, we have Catwoman, who has a brand new head and torso, but uses those very common now legs from the Avengers sets for the legs, which are perfect here. You know, they add a great level of detail. She also has a little kitty treat box here in her hand, Meow Bits, which is really cool. And, of course, she's got the headpiece here that gives her ears on the back of the mask. It is a really, really great minifig. I love this one a lot. And, of course, she's earned her spot at number 6 on this list. At number 5, we have the Riddler. Now, we've gotten a lot of Riddler minifigs over the years, but this one brings a brand new hat, head, and torso piece to the table, which are really, really great. I love that the Riddler is included in Arkham, because, of course, from the video games and everything, plays a huge part, especially in the side quests, so I love that he's here, and I really, really love the torso print on this. It may be my favorite Riddler minifig to date. Of course, I want to let some recency bias, shed off from that, but I do really, really love this one and think he's deserving to be in our top 5. At number 4, we have Batwoman, who is absolutely awesome. Now, she actually brings back the original Batwoman cowl piece here, which hasn't been seen in many, many years. But, of course, there's not really a lot of newness going on. I mean, the torso is obviously based off of the exact same Batwoman from New 52. Not that that's a bad thing or anything, but there's just not a lot of newness here besides the cape. And, of course, the head is brand new as well. The head looks great, if I'm being honest. But the cape is really, really cool because we have black on the outside and red on the inside. If you guys have been collecting LEGO for quite some time, you know how rare it is to get double-sided, double-colored capes like this. So it's really incredible to get it here. I just wish that we had gotten a more regular cape like we have on the original Batwoman minifigure because, of course, I just think it would be a lot stronger. With this cape, it really limits, what you could do with it. Like, she basically always has to be flying, and, the cape has to, kind of bend down in a way, and you would have to, crinkle and crease it. I don't know. I love it for, posing and play dynamics, but I don't love it for just standing around, and I wish we just got a regular version of the cape, too, for standing around, and in a $300 set, I really don't feel like that's too much to ask. Here we have Luke Fox as Batwing coming in at number 3. This figure is so cool, being one of the new figures that has leg printing, which is so great. Gonna come in handy for so many customs. And of course, that torso is brand new here as well. The head actually has appeared in some other sets, like the foosball table, but it is its first appearance in Superheroes. And of course, the cowl is the same one that came on the Sonar suit from the Batman Forever Batmobile, which would work perfectly for a Batman from BVS in the armored suit. Now, bearing all of that in mind, when you look at art of Luke Fox online, a lot of times the mouth is actually covered, and I really wish that the head could have been like a reversible head, kind of like we got with the Sam Wilson Captain America from Brave New World, where one side has the breathing apparatus on and the other side is just Sam's face. I think that would have been really cool, but of course that would have necessitated LEGO making a new part, and we all know how much they love to do that. That being said, the wings can actually fold down on the side, which are very cool. We have a stickered piece covering that right here. And I'll go ahead and remove the head and slide this piece off so that you can see we've got a great bit of back printing there as well, making for an awesome minifig, even if his head isn't on right now. Coming in at number 2, we have the Damian Wayne Robin, who of course takes much inspiration from his 2021 comic book look. Really, really great here. You got those red gloves with the gray torso, the little Robin R logo, and he's got the shorter mid-sized legs, which make them posable, which is great for, of course, posing him in action scenes around this set. The spiky hair can actually be flipped around to show a fighting or maybe even a scared face on the reverse side. The cape is double-sided with yellow on the inside and black on the outside, and we can actually move that cape to see some great printing hidden beneath the cape as well. Now, of course, you know what I'm going to say about the cape. It's the same thing as Batwoman. I really, really wish that we had gotten just a regular cape that wasn't so, flowing in the wind, just because when you pose them regularly, I just feel like it'd be better to have that. Again, in a $300 set, I don't feel like it's asking too much to get multiple versions of capes. But, you know, I love that it's double-sided in, hey, maybe it's a sign of things to come. Maybe we'll get some other things in future sets someday. We can only hope that's the case. And at number 1, we have Poison Ivy. This is such a great minifig, guys. Starting from head to toe, the hair actually is the Glinda hair from Wicked, recolored in red, and we get a yellow flower to put in her hair, which looks so amazing. We can lift that up to see a double-sided head with some, like, ivy and plants growing down the sides of her face, and of course that face is double-sided. Looks great on both sides, and I just love that the costume here is so inspired by the Arkham games without being completely from that or completely from any one comic book from what I can tell. It just feels like a very, very great version of the figure, and the coloring, too, of the arms, hands, and head are so unique. I can't really think of another LEGO figure off the top of my head that has quite that color. Maybe something from Hidden Side, but overall, it's just such a wonderful minifig and very deserving of the number 1 spot, if you ask me. And as an honorable mention, I think we should talk about the statue that overlooks the top of Arkham that we'll see when we look in the set. But as you can see, one side of the face has been defaced by the Joker, and the other side is just a regular statue head. So if you wanted to, you know, fix up Arkham after the inmates have all been put back in their cells, you could certainly do that. I don't know that I would count this as a minifigure in the set per se, but it's definitely worth an honorable mention before we wrap things up. Let's start things off with the Arkham Asylum patient transport. We've got lots of references right off the bat. On the roof, it says 7785, of course being a reference to the first ever Arkham Asylum that LEGO made. That was the set number in 2006. Then on the front and the back, we have license plates of B258. Of course, Batman number 258 was a Two-Face story where he escaped from Arkham, and it was the first appearance of Arkham Asylum in any Batman media, so that's pretty cool. We can lift off the roof in 2 different sections to access the inside. On the inside here, you can see we actually have some tranquilizer guns there for the guards to use, as well as 2 seats up front where we can seat both guards, and we can actually remove this from the back, but the door's open too. So we can put these rooftop pieces back on and then go ahead and use this cage piece here to put our prisoners in. I think the Joker feels like a good one to start with, so we could just go ahead and clip this over the Joker so that he can't get anywhere, and then of course we just load that back in and close it up like that. Now, there are quite a lot of stickers on this, and as you can see on the camera, I feel like the white of the stickers don't really match with the white of the pieces. I know that might sound crazy, but even in person, not just on camera, there is like a disconnect where like the Arkham Asylum is super white and the pieces are just not quite the same shade of white. I do like that there's a lot of pieces, or stickers I should say, that have like wear on them, and it shows that this vehicle has been through some adventures on its own, but still, it does kind of bother me that those white shades don't match up perfectly. The other thing is, I love these big mirrors on the front, and I personally have not had a LEGO set with this size tire and wheel in it, so that was cool to see too. I don't know if that's new for this set or not, I'm just saying I've not seen it myself. That being said, let's open the gates to Arkham and head in. Now, before we take a super close-up look, let's just take a look at the building as a whole from the outside. As you can see, the villains have made their mark all over the building, and there's going to be a lot for us to get into and explore, but a couple things that really stand out to me are we have these giant holes in the back, which of course are where the villains broke out in the story narrative of the set. But the thing that's kind of annoying about that is it doesn't come with any extra pieces to go ahead and close those up. Whereas on the Daily Bugle, there was a whole wall section you could remove that could be battle damaged or not. In here, you just have to live with the fact that the walls are totally open. Sure, you could mock it to be closed. I'm not saying that, you know, you can't do that. It is LEGO after all. But as a OCD completionist, it does kind of bother me that, like, no matter how I do this without adding extra pieces, I have to have these big holes in the side open. And considering I imagine that it was a lot of the same design input from this set that the Daily Bugle had, It is just a little bit annoying to me to think that they were able to do that for the Bugle, but not here. That being said, there are so many Easter eggs to dive into, so let's start in the front courtyard and start breaking down the set and all the great details here. So of course, up front we have the Arkham letters, and these are really, really cool. If you look at them, they're not quite lined up perfectly because of the way that they're built, and there's just no way around that. I just love that they used this piece from the roller coaster track to, have them there, and it just looks great. It's very inventive. These front gates open, and you can see that we do have some damage, if you will, here from where things have eroded, but there's lots of individual studs where minifigs can stand. Over in the corner here, we can see a cover for the sewer that says Gotham City, and you can see where Killer Croc has left his mark there. That will be referenced a little later in the set. And then on these front windows, we've got a lot of details. For example, this bar clips over that front there, and it can be removed. Certainly doesn't have to be. It's all up to you, but that clips right back into place. Tough to do with one hand, though. That being said, over on the side here, you can see we've got another one of those bars that clip, and maybe a minifig could, escape out of that window or something. And of course, Poison Ivy's plants are growing out the windows here from her portion of the breakout. Now, moving over, we did look at this minifigure earlier. This is a very cool statue that's been Jokerized, and of course, I love that a lot. And she's got that lock on her handcuffs, and we have Arkham Asylum stickers right there over the doors, which also open so that we narratively can have our minifigures walk inside the asylum, which of course we'll do ourselves in just a moment. Moving over to the side, you can see where this gate has been broken down and some villains have already breached the gate. Of course, we have some mud there for Clayface to show how he escaped out of the sewer drain there. And then, of course, we've got some Joker graffiti there. Smile, you're on camera. And hitchhikers may be supervillains with a Riddler question mark on that one. Now, we do have this tower up here as well, and that's really cool. It's like the watchtower to have the guards looking over. But the one thing is, if you're going to put this in your Lego city, this is going to be in a quarter, so the watchtower would just be, looking over your Lego city. And that's one place where the design of this set does kind of bother me. I do absolutely love this set, as we're going to get into, but the way that it's been built into a corner, think about all the space right here that we lost when it comes to the interior, when we get to the interior, and Arkham, to me, doesn't really need to be, in the middle of a city, and I would have almost preferred if this was an island of sorts, and it just kind of existed on its own. That being said, though, I do love that it's a modular, and, hopefully, getting to our next reference of Metropolis here, it's the first of many DC modulars to come, but it's just, I don't know, there's something about the way that this is built into a corner that I love the way it looks, but I also feel like it's constrained by its own design. So keep that in mind and let me know if you agree as we go through things. That being said, as we move around back here, we did talk about this hole. I want to save that a little bit more for the interior to discuss. On the back door, we have restricted access area, but of course, the Riddler has graffitied for it to say unrestricted access area, and this says not a revolving door, which I find kind of humorous considering the villains break out of Arkham all the time, so in a way, it kind of is a revolving door. But over here, we've got a really, really obscure reference to this banana guy on the box. My thinking is that this is a reference to the Banana Co. from the Gorilla Grodd Goes Banana set years ago, which in and of itself was actually an Arrested Development reference, which is pretty random and cool. That being said, we've also got a little snowman here where Mr. Freeze has frozen the trickle out of this sewage pipe from the rooftop here, which is cool. And we have play features where we can remove, or rather pull out, this piece here, as well as this electrical box. Again, all things we're going to revisit more when we get to the interior. But one cool thing inside of here is we have this piece. I'm not 100% sure if this is a reference to something or not, but inside the trash bucket, we have studs. I think this is our first reference to any LEGO video game in a superhero set. And beneath those studs, we have a Batman #9 comic with Batman and Robin on the front, continuing the tradition of putting some kind of a classic comic book cover on the cover of these little plates in these sets, which is so, so cool. Then, of course, we have a Vote for Harvey Dent and Joker ha 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 graffiti here. And, of course, the Harvey Dent one is ripped over his Two-Face persona. Very, very reminiscent and referential to the Dark Knight trilogy, which is so cool. And then we have some graffiti up here with the Riddler up top here with his question marks, and just some, like, general worn down graffiti over here. As we move over, we did briefly take a look at this before, but we have a Visit Metropolis poster with a Crypto Super Dog little paw print there, and a Wayne Industries. I guess that'd be like a higher thing with like the phone number. I guess it's not very specific, but up top here we have a heart with Harley and Ivy's initials with a diamond and a plant there, so referencing their relationship. And then that brings us back to the front here, where we have some penguin graffiti on the rooftop, a light watching over the courtyard. Wow, that was a zoom in if there was ever a zoom in. And then, of course, we've got more graffiti up top for Harley Quinn representation, and also some Joker representation on the water tower. So that's a pretty good look at all the details on the outside. Overall, I really dig it. I think it feels worn down and lived in, just the way I like to see my Lego sets, which is very cool. Of course, along the sides here, you'll notice these studs so that you, of course, could make this modular and attach it to other buildings in your Marvel modular series, or just the Lego modular series in general. And you can see all these J-hooks and studs all around, where you can actually put a plethora of clear pieces, which are included in the set to be able to have people jumping around the building. But speaking of the building, let's head inside those front doors and check out Arkham Asylum. When you've shot literally thousands of LEGO videos, it's easy to assume that everybody just knows how everything works, but there's probably somebody out there that this is the first LEGO set you're thinking about buying, so let me explain how modulars work. You can actually lift off the individual levels of each part here so that you can get to the interiors of the different parts of the build. So the roof lifts off over here, and unfortunately, there's actually nothing up in the attic space other than some condiments referencing the Condiment King. And it's very hard to see, so I purposefully left myself area to be able to reach it here. But there is a crossword that says, "Riddle me this," which is quite cool. You're supposed to put it way up there, but by the time you do that, you literally wouldn't be able to see it. So I did a little augmentation of my own on that. But let's start on the ground floor and look at the interior. So as we move in those front doors, we can finally see the interior, where we have a little bit of like a checkered floorboard in the waiting area, then blue flooring to go to the cells, and then over here we have kind of like the police holding station. Now, it is a little difficult to like get in and see things on a camera angle. It is much easier to see in person, but I'm going to do my best here. Behind the little police desk here, of which there's no seat, basically your officer just has to stand, we have some security cameras showing what the villains are up to. The bottom right one, of course, has been knocked out. The top left has the Joker. Top right has the Scarecrow actually poisoning a water cooler, which we'll see on the second floor. And we could see Bane lifting weights. We've got a clock over here. I'm not sure if that clock is any significant reference or not. If you think of something, let me know in the comments. But we actually do have a really great reference on this newspaper here to The Dark Knight Returns, of course, with it saying The Batman Returns, and having that iconic art right there. Now, as we turn it, you can see we do have a computer screen. I'm going to have to tilt it up so that you can see it is for Clayface, and we've got a Wayne Tech sticker there too, so it's Wayne Tech Computer, and you can see that Clayface would have just actually taken his rap sheet photo there, and of course it looks like he broke out of the wall or something along those lines. We do see up front here where Clayface has left a mud trail, so maybe he got out through a pipe or something, but it doesn't quite say on the inside. Of course, something funny here is we do have a shark fin up top, being that King Shark is the tallest character that's ever had their photo taken here, and on this little card here we have 1940 as in Batman issue 40 from the year 1940, which was the first appearance of Clayface. Now, moving over here, we have a maximum security cell, which can open up to a padded room for the likes of the Joker, or I guess any of the inmates of Arkham at this point in time. But that closes, and it's a very, heavy, robust built door, which looks great. then we just have so many Easter eggs over here, so we'll break them all down. First off, in the left corner, we just have like a little coffee ring on that Arkham rap sheet. We'll see another one upstairs. Underneath, we have a radium elemental tile. Of course, I am thinking that that is a reference to Professor Radium, who's a kind of obscure DC villain, but I don't know why else they would put it there. So that's kind of cool. Then we have this computer here that says open all cell doors, and it's about to click yes, which of course will let the villains escape over here. And on the wall, again, we have so many Easter eggs. In the top right, stand up with Mr. J. That one's pretty obvious. That chemistry equation in the top left is actually the equation for photosynthesis, of course being a reference to Miss Poison Ivy. Door code 1902 has me confused. I can't find any significant date in LEGO or DC history for 1902, so if you can think of something that I'm just obviously missing, let me know. Then, of course, we have a Batman note and a spoon missing question mark, which will pay off here in a moment. We do have some phones littered all throughout the build that I would assume are ways for the guards to contact each other throughout. And we also have something interesting here where somebody has a spoon showing up in their x-ray, and then as we walk through this door, we have like a clearance with a red and green light, which of course continues to the other side, and we can actually knock all of these walls out to get access to the beds inside here. So this one actually doesn't have a bed, it just has some sheets folded up on the floor, but this one has a bed which actually can fold up into the wall to create more space, and every single cell has like a gate on it so that the inmates would be able to talk to each other. Probably not the best idea. And then, of course, this is kind of fascinating. There's a spoon left underneath here where one of the inmates clearly used a spoon to dig the entire floor out to escape through this hole they made in the back. Very Shawshank Redemption. Then, of course, remember we were talking about this dumpster over here, which we can pull out, and when we pull it, all the doors move in unison to allow the villains in and out to escape. Not a great idea, because what if this guy has to use the bathroom? Then you just open it up, and then his two neighbors are able to just get out. I get it for play, though. It does look very cool. It's just sometimes funny how logic doesn't exactly hold up to these things. But the walls go right back in there, and then we are good to go for the exterior. And then just a couple other things. We've got a sticker here that says, no coins, umbrellas, playing cards, or coolers beyond this point, with the Joker crossing out the no and laughing, of course, saying that they should allow coins for Two-Face, umbrellas for Penguin, playing cards for Joker, or coolers for Mr. Freeze. On the wall over here, we actually have a ladder that goes up, and now that will take us up to the second floor where the story continues. So as you can see, that ladder is how we get to the second floor, and we have those poison ivy plants growing out, which of course we can also see that this cell is for Miss Poison Ivy herself. We can knock out the walls to see all of the plants, and then the other two ones here are just regular cells where the beds can fold up, just like before. Basically an exact repeat of downstairs, just with Poison Ivy having her own cell in that far corner. Now, as we move over here, we have a portrait of Jeremiah Arkham, the great-grandson of the founder of Arkham, which is a pretty cool reference in and of itself on the wall here. So we have another of the same thing from downstairs. This one just hasn't been vandalized by the Joker. And then we have a lot of Easter eggs over here. Again, easier to see in person than on camera. In fact, I think I'm just going to go ahead and remove this piece so it's easier to see. But we have a coffee mug there, as well as the head of a racer head. Oh my gosh. And an owl, more than likely referencing the Court of Owls from DC Comics. Then we can flip this around to see we've got another computer screen here with an x-ray, but this one doesn't have a spoon on the inside, so there you go. We also have a door with those same lights from downstairs. We have a fire extinguisher, like they love to hide in all these LEGO superhero sets. On the wall over here, we have the menu with laughing fish soup, chicken legs, and snow cones, being references to various DC villains, of course. Then, as we move over here, we have the watchtower, which we mentioned before from the exterior. We can remove the roof to see in there, but we could even do one better and remove the entire watchtower to see inside. I love that the Bat logo looks like the Arkham Knight Batman, or I should say Arkham Asylum, Arkham Trilogy Batman. You know, you get the drill. But it looks like the coffee has been poisoned here. We've got a microphone there, and then We can move the camera all the way around, or I guess I'm moving the building, not the camera. But you can see from down below how I referenced the water cooler has been poisoned. You can see right here, that is the case. I guess the Scarecrow was able to get to the water. We have a calendar over here, which has Calendar Man on it, which is pretty cool, with a new design for the character. And September 21st is not marked off. Assuming the top left is the first of the month, that would be the 21st block. And interestingly enough, the first episode of Batman the Animated Series debuted on September 21st, 1992, so that could very well be a reference. Now, of course, here we have a window that looks into Harley's office. You know, on the wall here, we have a doctorate degree for Hugo Strange, which is cool, but it seems like it's Harley's office to me, based on the sticker on the door, where the Joker or Harley has put Ha instead of Harleen Quinzel, which is cool. Of course, that door does open up so your minifigs can walk in there, but it just feels a little cramped in here to me. Like, you know, there's just a coffee cup sitting on the floor. That's kind of odd, but I do like that the couch is, you know, positioned in a way that you can have a minifigure lay back on it for a therapy session. Might be our first official Lego therapy room, I'm not 100% sure. But on the wall, we have a Harleen Quinzel Employee of the Month photo that's been knocked on its side a little bit, and a Most Wanted photo after she's become Harley, and then there are a ton of Easter eggs over here underneath the tape recorder. Of course, we have Harley's red and white makeup there. We have Two-Face's scratched up coin, and we have a case file for Killer Croc where we could see him reaching out of a sewer to grab a chicken leg there, which could very well be this sewer that I mentioned earlier that we would come back to and reference. I guess you just don't know, but with that being said, that's everything up here on the second floor. And now that brings us to the roof. You know, we kind of looked at the roof a little bit earlier, but I love what they did with all these sharp pointed pieces up here. Really just makes it look gothic, and it really just helps sell the Arkham vibe. We've got this chimney over here, and then, you know, all these jumping pieces like I said earlier. The water tower with the Joker graffiti is pretty sweet, but that's everything here in Arkham. You know, I really, really like this set, and I think it's a very strong first outing for LEGO to do DC Modulars, but I just don't know that I love it quite as much as some of the Marvel ones. Like, I definitely don't like it more than Avengers Tower. I don't think I like it more than the Daily Bugle, and I'm not sure if I like it more than the X-Men Mansion or the Sanctum, but it's probably ranked number 3, to be honest with you. But again, I literally just finished building this yesterday, and I haven't had time to, like, live with it quite the way I have the Marvel ones, so I don't know. There's just something about it being a corner building that doesn't sit quite right with me. There are so many corner buildings in my modular city already. That's not to say that my modular city is the, you know, metric stick by which we measure all of these. It's just to say it feels cramped to me. You know, those hallways really feel tight. I had to, like, remove pieces just to show you details on the inside. Speaking of details, I forgot to show you this one. Just like downstairs, you can pull this tab to open those doors. And there's an egg inside there referencing Egghead, which is kind of cool. But yeah, you know, I really, really like this. I just don't know that it delivers quite the way several of the Marvel ones do. But for DC, I absolutely love it. And like I said, I just think it's a very strong start for hopefully more to come from this theme. I really, really like it. The build is awesome. And of course, those minifigs are phenomenal. I just think that the cramped feeling inside is just too hard for me to get over. So it can't be number 1 on my list for that reason. But it's probably my favorite LEGO DC set ever, just to show you the nuance of it. It's just compared to the Marvel ones, I don't know if it holds up quite the same for me. But with that being said, let's zoom out and wrap this video up. Alright guys, well that's what I've got to say on Arkham Asylum. I've got lots more videos to come, including minifigure and Easter egg breakdowns, minifig upgrades, fitting it into my LEGO city, and so much more, so be sure to hit like and subscribe. And in the meantime, also, let me know what you think of this set down in the comments. Obviously, there's a lot of newness here, a lot to be excited about, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it, so let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.